So as most of you know, I've only been playing Dead by Daylight for about 2.5 years. I started back in October of 2022 around the Knights PTB, and so I don't have the year's worth of experience that some other people does. Thankfully, one of my now what I would consider really great friends, Pally, who is a fellow content creator, has been playing this game literally since the beta. This man has been here forever. He mains the Trapper and Singularity. He's been through every single change this game has ever put forth, and so I thought it would be fun to bring him on here and talk about the evolution of Dead by Daylight's community and Dead by Daylight itself, and see what he had to say. So I hope you guys enjoy the conversation, and as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members for supporting the content and helping me make money while I'm waiting to start my new job. I love you guys so much. Enjoy the video.
Yeah, I am I'm Pally. I am a content creator who mains Trapper, P100 Trapper. I've been maining Trapper since the beginning. It's been a rough road maining Trapper to the point where I started secondary maining Singularity.
Yeah, bro, my F tier killer feels kind of bad, so I'm gonna hop to an A tier killer if you don't mind.
Especially now where he's so bugged where half the traps he put down survivors you can just walk through.
Oh, is he also part of the great bugging of the...
He is, yeah. Sometimes his traps just, what are traps? I don't know. But I've been doing that since 2016. Man, it was a small community back then, and I continue to main Trapper. Some people say it's out of self-hatred. I say it's because I'm stubborn.
I mean, I would assume it's only stubbornness that keeps you maining Trapper. He's gotten what, like 30 buffs, and he's still just bottom tier dog shit.
He is, if you look at the amount of buffs he's gotten versus any other killer, he has gotten the most buffs out of any killer in the game, and he is still, unironically, I would say only only above Skull Merchant, but that's only because they actually just took away her power completely.
I highly agree. Highly agree.
But like, you know, outside of that, he is the worst killer in the game.
Well, like, we could actually talk about that, like, for a little bit, since you're not only a Trapper main, but you're literally, you probably are considered the Trapper main of Trapper mains, because you've been here the whole fucking time.
See, I wouldn't even consider myself the Trapper main of all Trapper. I'm definitely a Trapper main. If I had to look at one person and say they're the Trapper main, I don't know if you know who Lefty is.
I do not know.
The entity left hand, that's the guy. That is, and that's a guy who, man of very few words. He's kind of like the original like VTuber in the community. His VTuber model. You ever watch Comfy Cheeks?
I've not. No, I don't think I've heard of them actually.
Okay, Comfy Cheeks is like the Huntress version of Lefty. Their VTuber model is just straight up the in-game model of their character. So it's pretty great. Lefty plays a character and he plays it well, and yeah, it's great. But I would say he's the guy, but I'm definitely a guy, and I appreciate that people are starting to think of me that way.
Yeah, no, well, because I mean, like, it's just such a valuable insight to be here, like, from the beginning. And my opinion is the reason that Trapper has never risen despite all of his buffs is because he's got the largest time sink in the game, because he's the only killer that has to collect his fucking power.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just the only... I think that... Because, like, a lot of people are worried, like, if you let him spawn with all of his traps, then Basement Trapper might, you know, we honestly just played a game on stream of Basement Trapper. Basement Trapper might become, like, too commonplace, but in my opinion, his traps are so easily countered and walked around that I don't know that it would be a problem for anyone with, like, a brain cell. But I think if they just let him spawn with all of his traps and give him trap refresh, we can go from there. Then we might be able to, like, tune how long it takes to escape from a trap and stuff like that. But like, until he spawns with all his traps, I don't think he's ever leaving the F tier. I just don't think he can.
So, here, the interesting thing about Trapper is you have to understand, just because of what his power is, there's only so much you can do, and he's always going to be very, very weak. Just because of what his power is and how it doesn't really... You gotta remember, Trapper exists in the same game where Nurse exists. Yeah. So, like, she is such a huge bottleneck on everything below her. It is, like... It is absolutely insane, and Trapper suffers from that more than anybody. you can't do you can give him small quality of life things, maybe some add-ons, base kit, whatever. But if you do too much, you risk him becoming Skull Merchant 2.0.
I definitely do think that he'll always be in like the bottom 5, but at least we can bring him out of the F tier. I think we could at least bring him into like, we can bring him from bottom tier dog shit to just bad.
Yeah, my ideas for buffing Trapper have always been along the line of like, so behaviors mentality for Trapper, they've said this, and I used to talk, I don't know if you know who McLean was.
No.
McLean was one of the devs, he left like 3 years ago, he left behavior. Right around the time Not Queen left. I don't know if you know who that was, but she used to be the community manager. She was like old Death Dorks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but right around, and she had been there since the beginning with McLean too. But I used to talk to McLean all the time because he was a dev who actually, one of the few who actively played the game consistently, and he was a Trapper main. And we used to have conversations about it, and he used to say the same thing, that there's only so much you can do because of his power, and that they want him to be a simple killer for new players, and that's why they don't change him too much. So you have to come up with changes that are going to make a like almost no impact at lower levels, because, and I'm not saying that to insult people, like there are lower levels for a reason.
Yeah.
But almost no impact at lower levels because they won't know what to do with it, and a world of difference at higher levels.
And see, and like the thing is I've heard that argument, and my counter argument is Trapper probably has one of the biggest macro skill floors in the game. Like the macro sense you need to play Trapper is absolutely insane. It's like they want to keep him simple, but like the nature of his power is that he can't be simple, because you have to know every single map, you have to know the basic fundamentals of map patrolling, you have to know how to play each map, you have to know the proper spots to place your traps. Because like if you just walk around placing your traps willy-nilly, you're fucked, right? Like you're not doing anything with that. You have to find an area, lock it down, and then force the survivors into that area. And new players are never going to be able to do that until they understand the game. I did not get good at Trapper until like hour 800, I think. Because I just I couldn't understand what the fuck I was supposed to be doing. I was like, I trap loop. Why trap loop no work?
Well, that's the thing, right? Like that's part of the art of Trapper, is knowing that trapping, like using your traps, isn't always about making survivors step in traps too, right? Like look at it. There are some maps, like you mentioned knowing maps. Mm-hmm. There are some maps, like a certain sand-covered map, where no matter how well you know that map, you're basically without a power if you're trying to go for traps. Yep. So in a case like Iria Crows, or like Nostromo's another good one too, because there's grass in Nostromo, but there's also no grass at the same time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like no grass where it counts. Like you have these little grass bushes in the middle of nowhere, nothing it loops.
Yeah.
But you're on Iria Crows, and your immediate thought is, well, I'll just trap pallets. The problem is 90% of the pallets on that map are so wide, they can just walk through your trap no matter how you put it. Mm-hmm. So you want to have zoning traps. And I think Otz just did a video about this, because I had spoken to him in DMs about it too. And Otz is like the most down-to-earth dude in the world, by the way. But
yeah, I've been trying to get him on the channel forever, but his schedule is impossible.
It is. He did a video about it too, and it was basically like traps as a way of like, and he did it specifically on Iria Crows. Rather than trying to get them in a trap, use it as a loop extender, or like, you know, like make it so they have to flare around it. Now you're going to get a hit at the very least. Like this is what you have to know about playing this character. Yep. And then there's other circumstances where, okay, you can trap it in a certain way where you know they're not going to step in it, but now if they want to drop that pallet, they got to go to the other side of the loop to do it.
Yeah. Is the makeshift wrap strategy like legitimate? The one where he puts it on like an edge so they run around it, but then you take the corner tightly because the trap doesn't stop you. Absolutely. Does that works like most of the time, or? That's
it's not that it just works most of the time. It's like if they're running the small amount of survivors right now who will actually run a loop and not shift W, it works like almost 100% of the time. Like and you know what I mean? Like most survivors, there's almost no running a tile anymore. It's just hold popular. I wonder why.
Yeah. So, and the ironic thing about that is the counter to Kaneki is to actually loop. If you try to shift W against is that how you say his name? I've been saying Kaneki this whole time.
Kaneki.
Kaneki, okay. If you shift W against Kaneki, you're going to get fucked up. And so most survivors are so used to shift Wing from pallet to pallet that when they get fucked up, they're like, OP killer. And then, like, when you actually play your loops, all of a sudden he becomes a lot more bearable. I'm not going to say he becomes weak, but he becomes way more bearable when you actually play your loops. But that actually is a great segue into our first thing, because this has been a problem of mine since I joined the game. So I joined during Knight's PTB, October of 2022.
That was a gloriously buggy PTB.
I didn't actually play that PTB. I remember, so I joined because of Ghostface, purely because of Ghostface. And I was playing Ghostface. It was like my third day streaming. And somebody was like, yo, you gonna do a Night PTB stream? And I was like, I don't have any interest in new killers. I'm gonna play Ghostface and only Ghostface. And now here I am 3 years later, like, fuck that fucking killer, bro. I'm so sick of his trash fucking playstyle. But
yeah, the only thing stopping him from being worse than Trapper is the fact that he has an insta down.
Yeah. So I have always felt like there was a massive problem with pallets in the game, and I've been told that there used to be a time where there were, like, every loop had 2 pallets. Do you think that behavior has even further to go with the pallet problem, or do you think they're just so much better than they used to be that it's not as big of a deal as it was?
So, did you play any 2v8?
Yeah.
So you remember how big the loops were and how there was like 2 completely safe, like, god pallets at every loop?
Mm-hmm.
Back up until I'd say mid 2018, up until like the Clowns release, or maybe the Pigs release, that was just normal DBD.
How did y'all play back then?
Well, that's my thing, right? Like, when people complain now, don't get me wrong, I bitch about things all the time, okay? It's DBD. That's like a common thing we all do. Mm-hmm. Even the most positive people in the game do it. But when we're talking about things that are broken, like, you know, don't get me wrong, there are still some problematic things that shouldn't exist, but like, a lot of the players today would go back to that and lose their minds.
I genuinely don't know if I could have played back then, because, like, we're talking about the shift W problem. The whole reason it exists is because why wouldn't you just shift W to another loop when you know there's going to be 3 pallets along the way? Like, yeah. Why wouldn't I go from one loop to another without running it when I know that, I mean, there was one time I was on Ormond and there was literally a pallet between every pair of rocks, like from Snowplow all the way down to Shack. There was just a pallet in between every single pair of rocks. And
it was playing Killer or Survivor?
Killer. No, if I'm playing Survivor, like, half the pallets just mysterious. Yeah. Every time I queue Survivor, half the pallets on the map just mysteriously vanish. They're never there when I play Survivor. And for a while, like, when I would talk about this pallet problem, people would be like, oh, well, that's just like a bug on this map or a bug on that map. But I'm starting to wonder, it's been so long, is it a bug or is it a feature? I don't know.
It's a feature. There is a max pallet count on each map. Behavior says, I think it's 18 at a maximum, but I can count it 18 almost all the time. Like, I've almost, aside from smaller maps, I never see it below that.
I'm almost certain Gideon's has like 20 plus, but
no, it seems like that, right? And that's when you ask if there's anything like that that's still problematic. Gideon's is a perfect example. I think a lot of the people in the community have this like thought process where in order for a pallet to be good, it has to be safe, and I can't disagree with that anymore. I think some of the best and strongest pallets in the game, if run correctly, are fillers, rock pallets. Like, there's gameplay for both sides, but if one side runs it correctly, you're just dominating.
Yeah.
And I'm not against safe pallets. I think it's okay for some of them to exist. But like, the level of safe pallets on some maps, especially Gideon's, is absolutely absurd for something that's in 2025.
So, one of the big things in the community that I think all of us can agree on that's kind of like a huge problem is the insane amount of tribalism. You know, my side good, other side bad, behavior hate my side, behavior like other side. Has that always been an issue in this community, or is that something that's recently popped up in like the last couple of years or whatever?
It's funny because back at the beginning, and a lot of people say like, so there's a lot of people who weren't around back then who say, well, my friend told me this, my friend told me that. But like back then there was a very small amount of us who played this game. Like this is before Myers came out. Okay. Like Myers is what made this game explode. Before that though, we all like kind of congregated on the same server. I forget, it was either US East or US West. You used to be able to change your server in game back then. And is that a cat I hear in the background?
Yeah, Baxter's coming in to tell me he's not happy I'm not playing in bed yet. It's past our bedtime, and he's very upset about that.
No, I apologize for being late.
No, you're good. He'll live.
We used to congregate all on the same server because there was such a small amount of us, and we had like, even Otofu made a video about it not too long ago. It was called he called it the honor code system, where like, you know, there were broken loops, there were infinites. Like some of us would, like a lot of people would just make sure that we didn't run the infinites or playing Survivor. We didn't camp and tunnel if we were playing Killer. We generally played for each other's fun. And then once the game started to get more mainstream attention with Michael Myers, and then all of a sudden, like really like streamers really started taking off with it, it started to not be that way anymore. And you could argue that it wasn't healthy to begin with for that kind of thing to go on. Because it kind of breeds entitlement, but it slowly became, and this is going to sound really tribalistic of me anyway. There's no way for me to say it where it doesn't sound that way, but I promise I don't mean it this way. It slowly evolved into only killers have to do these things. And I think that's pretty observable.
Yeah, it's definitely something. I made a video about this a while back where like I mentioned that I only ever notice killers have to not try to win, right? Like if a killer tries to win in any capacity, it's a problem. But I've never heard or even seen in 2,500 hours of playing this game, I've never seen a survivor like not do a gen because the killer's getting their asses kicked, right? Or like not like run a loop correctly because the killer hasn't gotten any hooks or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like survivors always seem to be trying their hardest. And like at the end of the game, right, when the gates are already open, you might have like every once in a while a survivor will toss a kill your way by staying until the in-game collapse kills them. But most of the time it feels like only killers are being told to stop attempting to win. And then that in turn creates a vicious cycle where killers become these like really bitter, angry players.
Resentful.
Because they're resentful because they feel like they can't win, right? Like I was talking about this the other day. If I log on and I sweat my balls off like I'm trying to win grandma's surgery money in a tournament, I get told that I'm ruining other people's fun. But if I try to play a chill game and I just hang out, talk to chat, and not pay attention, I get teabagged at the exit gate. GG, easy, uninstall, you fat bastard. Like, what am I supposed to do? What do you guys want from me? You know?
Yeah, like that actually kind of happened to me last night. I queued up as Wraith, and I got a map that I absolutely hate. It was Dead Dog. I hate that map.
It's such a poorly designed map.
The illusion that map is any one killer or survivor sided is insane. It's It's actually just a poorly designed map.
It's split down the middle, right? Because townside shack and main building are survivor sided, and then you get past those, you go outside of those, and it's just a giant dead zone. It's like
the problem is the map is small enough where they can make it to main building no matter where they are.
Yep.
So like, I was going against the squad that everyone had balanced landing.
Oh,
so like I think I got 6 hooks, 1 kill, and the only kill I got is because one of them managed to screw up a styptic in my face. They managed to, I don't know how they managed to do that, but they did it. And then there's actually, I put a screenshot. I know you don't go on Twitter anymore, but I put a screenshot on Twitter of it, you know, just saying, "Watch me leave, Mr. Killer." And it's just, I stood there for almost the whole endgame collapse, and this Jane stood there just like not even in the exit gates, just like in front of the exit gates, waiting for me to come watch her leave. I was Wraith, so I was invisible. She didn't know I was near. And then in the end game chat, like you should go play another killer because Wraith ain't for you. Like and then this is after I said GG. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's
I
like,
guess I'll just go fuck myself, you know?
Yeah, it's like, well, my bad, bro. I didn't mean to queue up his killer. I'm terribly. I say it all the time. Like, I'll go in a survivor will like do like a really good outplay. They'll like drop a pallet right before I get to them, and I'm like, oh man, that sucks. And then they start teabagging. I'm like, oh, my bad, bro. Didn't mean to queue his killer. I apologize. Sorry for giving you an opponent to play against.
And I think that's where a lot of like like you said, the tribalism, I think that's where a lot of it comes from, is like what we used to do back in the day. And then it slowly evolved into it's only what one side needs to do. Mm-hmm. And I know that sounds tribalistic in and of itself, but like if you ask me, I don't care what they're doing you know, like when I'm playing Survivor, I don't care if I get tunneled out at 5 gens. I'm just chilling.
Yeah.
When I play Killer, yeah, sometimes I get annoyed at whatever, but usually when I'm playing Survivor, I'm annoyed at teammates. Mm-hmm. If I'm playing Killer, I'm annoyed at something stupid like why is there 11 pallets in this tile?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I think the whole thing just boils down to you're allowed to say whatever you want in game. Right, like unless it's like slurs and shit like that, then it's kind of ridiculous. But like I have, by the time people are seeing this recording, the second episode of my 1 build streak will come out, and there was a game that features in that video where I came up across a duo stack that brought me to Eerie of Cox. They brought Breakout, Breakdown, Boon Exponential, Unbreakable Soul Guard, and Sabo toolboxes, and there's hung out at the top of the map.
I bet you that was very fun and interactive for you.
Oh, it was, dude, it pissed me off so much. I was talking shit on them the whole fucking game. At one point I just stood still. I was like, I'm not even gonna bother to play the game, because why should I bother?
That's the thing too, right? Like I understand that too, because like it's not a personal thing, but at the same time, there is no survivor in this game, and and it's the same with killers and really stupid builds too. But like, there's no survivor in this game that chooses a build like that and is doing anything other than intentionally trying to make it less interactive for you, because that's what that build is for. And I'm not saying don't do it.
Yeah.
But God damn it, don't come to my chat and say GG with a winky face after.
Yeah, well, it's like, and like I said, you know, once the match was over, I said GG in the in-game chat, and then I just didn't talk about it at all, because like I said, you can complain about me tunneling, complain about me camping, call me a fathead who sucks at the game and whatever, but the moment you see that end screen, shut the fuck up. Like, just GG's and get on with your life. Like, it's just, it comes to a point where there's a difference, I feel, between having a rule book that you expect the other side to play and not liking certain play styles. You're allowed to not like play styles. I think it's kind of ridiculous to expect everybody to play in a way that you want them to play. And it gets so big that leads into our next, you know, back then versus now, is the entitlement of the community. I noticed this very early on, that a lot of the DBD community, both Survivor and Killer, feel like they're entitled to wins, right? Killers don't want survivors to do gens or body block or, you know, Sabo save or flashlight save. And then survivors don't want killers to tunnel or camp or, you know, hold the 3 gen or anything. Everybody wants the other side to purposely throw their games. Was that an issue back then, or is that something recent?
You'll hear a lot of conflicting reports from people who really didn't, like, they'll say I was around back then, but really they started in about 2019. But like, I would say the entitlement is worse now than it ever has been. And I think a lot of that is, it's a combination of a lot of things. It's the mentality that's been like inherited throughout the years that did come from back then. It just wasn't as no one really cared as much back then. Like right now, if you tunnel the wrong person, they're probably gonna do their best to like find some ridiculous stuff, or even go as far as manufacturing stuff about you just to make sure no one ever talks to you again or something. I don't know. Yeah, I've seen it happen to people. Like, I've seen people fake tweets and not even take off the fake tweet generator logo. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah. But I do think it's honestly worse now than it ever has been, but it was an issue back then, just not as bad. it's, and I'm not gonna, man, see, I hate saying this because I'm a content creator, you're a content creator, but I think a big part of that is content creators.
It's such an interesting conversation because there's no doubt that content creators have influence. But it's also like, at what point do we, where do we draw the line, right? Because I've seen people blame aughts for making a video about an item or a build or whatever that's like super powerful or unique or whatever, and then all of a sudden for like the next 3 days you're running into that over and over again. But like, do we just expect him to not make content like that? But at the same time, you have to think about like the way, like I saw, I'm not gonna mention the name, people can go watch it if they want. Apparently it probably is going to actually be out, but Spookajukes recently made a video about a huge Twitch creator.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Right. And the Twitch creator like pulls up people's fucking Steam profiles and their streams on his stream and like berates them and shit. And like, that's where responsibility comes in, right? Like, calling everybody a fucking asshole in the middle of a game is whatever. But when you start like actively publicly shaming people for the, like, because they happen to beat you in a video game, like that's where the responsibility I feel like comes in. But I feel
that particular streamer is one of the people who played with us on those regions back in he was one of the OGs.
Yeah. That's
like, it's a matter, or it's a case of like, I call it influencers forgetting that they're influencers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why people constantly blame aughts for stuff. That blows my mind. Like they're like, how are you gonna blame aughts for making a build video?
Yeah.
When there are people out here, again, I'm not gonna name names, that you could probably find exactly what I'm talking about, that just straight up show like 20-second videos of how to perform exploit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the ones we got to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I saw a Reddit post on the r/DBD Killers subreddit. Where this dude was like, "Am I gonna get banned?" I was recording footage for a video where I was showing the Nimi exploit and how bad it is and behavior should fix it. And this dude came in and said, "Reported, enjoy your ban." I don't want to get banned, and I'm sitting there like, asshole, you fucking did an exploit in a public lobby. The fuck you mean you don't want to get banned?
I'll be completely open with you. I did that exploit in 2 games yesterday, but I didn't kill anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I chased the survivors around. I had a good time. They came to chat. We all laughed about it. I wanted I took myself to Midwich because I wanted them to see the horror of me zooming at 42% haste through the hallways. And
fucking mock a million nemesis, bro.
And they came to chat. They said, "I thought for sure you were hacking," but like I made sure they knew I was messing around.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was hilarious, but like, and then I'm like immediately like, yeah, behavior needs to fix this, man.
Yeah. But he was like, he's doing it in public lobbies. He's killing people. He's recording it, quote unquote, for a video. And now he's worried he's going to get banned. Brother, I mean, what do you expect to happen is my question. And I was like, and everybody in the responses were like, bro, why didn't you just go to a bot lobby? Takes you 5 minutes to replicate it, and then you can make your video off of that if you really, really desperately want to make a video. And that's an example of like creator responsibility. Like I started hiding the names on my stream because I can't trust people to not be fucking weirdos. It's for a long time, I always thought like, oh, you know, you don't need to hide the names because like people who play this game, they know that their names are exposed. They know they have a chance at being in somebody's video. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I have no idea when my words are going to influence an absolute fucking maniac, right? Like everybody, exactly. I have 100 viewers. 99 of them understand that I'm just calling someone a dickhead out of frustration. There's going to be one guy, no matter what I say, that's just going to take it too fucking far. And so I started hiding the names because like I just don't want people, I don't want people acting like that.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I hide names. I don't want anyone knowing who I'm versing. I also don't verse people I know. I've lost friends in this community because I play the same way against everyone. Mm-hmm. So like I like to win, and I'm also Trapper, so I think all the bets are off the table when you're playing Trapper. But
yeah. But the last then versus now that I had is So by the time people are seeing this video, actually within a couple of hours of us recording this, I'm going to be dropping a video called The False Death of Dead by Daylight. And basically in that video, I take a comment thread that I received on my patch notes video, and there's this person that says, and I quote, the game will die in 2 or 3 patches if this keeps up. I've been hearing this for 2.5 years now.
I've been hearing this for 8.5 years now.
That's what I was going to ask. How long have people been going, this patch is going to kill Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight's going to suck after this. No one's going to play this game after this. How long has that been going on?
Well, that's been going on since, well, in the very beginning, that was a fair statement because no one expected this game to go that far. Mm-hmm. That's the reason there's so many bugs and broken stuff in the game now is because Behavior didn't build this game to go that far. They used Blueprint on Unreal. it's like a visual GUI for code. Mm-hmm. Like it's not meant to be an infrastructure for what they have now, and that's why there's so much that breaks all the time. Like even Behavior jokes about it in their anniversary loading screens. You know, they joke about the amount of bugs, which I always thought was a horrible look, but you know, it is what it is. But no, it's been like that since the beginning, and I'll say something controversial. I've only ever, like right now is the only time I've ever thought the game will die within a year or two. And that's if FNAF doesn't take off. And I truly believe, I think Behavior believes that, I think they know they need FNAF to work because I think they have tried to branch out. Nothing has worked. Mm-hmm. I liked Frank Stone, but a lot of people didn't. It was, for all intents and purposes, a commercial failure.
I couldn't play it. It was so badly optimized, I literally couldn't play it.
I was able to brute force it, so that's probably the only reason. I have a decent PC, but like, not everyone has like a 4090, you know?
Yeah.
But like, it's one of those things I actually think, and you can disagree, like it's fine. A lot of people will disagree.
Yeah.
FNAF they need to hit, like, this is their do or die.
I think that FNAF will, I don't agree that if it fails, it'll kill Dead by Daylight. What I do agree with though, is if FNAF fails, it will hurt us and it will set us back for the next like 2 to 3 years. Like for the next like 2 to 3 years, anything Behavior does will be under a fucking microscope. And I agree with you. They tried, and they've released some good stuff. That What the Fog.
That was a gem. I don't care what anyone says.
I loved that fucking game, dude. I played I stopped, but when it first came out, bro, I was playing it every night while listening to podcasts and listening to like videos and stuff like that. I'd put on like 3 or 4 hour video essays and just play that shit over. It was such a good. It was so weird that it had like DBD theming because it didn't need it, but at the same time, it was just such a fun game. And I hate that it didn't take off. I hate that they didn't like update it with more classes and stuff like that, because it was genuinely a good time. And I'm just like, I think that too many people think that this game is going to die because they want it to die, right? So many people hate this game.
I don't want it to die, right? Right. Like I love the game. There's nothing else like it, right? Other companies have tried. VHS was probably the closest thing that could have happened to a competitor, and they screwed up in so many ways. TCM, people thought that was a close one. That never had a chance. I don't care what anyone says. Killer Clowns was a joke. Even though I liked it, it was a joke. Evil Dead, what even is that?
I don't think a single license game can beat Dead by Daylight. I don't think it's possible.
The only thing that would have a chance is a AAA studio that has the money to back it, and I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet. And the money to like spend on licenses. That's the only thing that could do it. But I'm not going to say, okay, let me rephrase it. I don't think DBD will die. I think the risk of them dying is very, 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 very large if FNAF doesn't take off. I think that there is a huge risk of a lot of people, like there's a lot of people at Behavior that have jobs there.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see those people have to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
And they need to start making some smart decisions because and this patch does not get, this last patch gives me absolutely zero faith.
Dude, I am so confused because relatively speaking, they touched nothing this patch except the quest system. What the fuck was in the Tome Rift system that when they changed it, butchered half the killer roster? I cannot think for the life of me. I can't figure it out. I don't understand it. And I'm usually like one of those people that's like, guys, bugs are going to happen. You have to accept it. Hey, here's the one game-breaking bug we expected this patch was going to bring. Let's get that out of here. But you can't expect a patch to never have bugs. I think some people are like, I don't understand why there's always bugs. That's the nature of coding. It's the game-breaking bugs.
But
that
more
we have
than half the killers in the game being absolutely broken.
Like even I'm sitting here like, brother, what the fuck did y'all do? Like, what back-end shit got changed that completely and utterly shifted this? But like I said in the false death of Dead by Daylight video, what these people are saying, and this is the interesting part that I forgot to mention because I wanted to hear your initial reaction, is they're not saying this game's going to die because of its bugginess or because of, you know, things aren't working properly. What they're saying is it's going to die because this patch is, quote, survivor-sided, and every patch is, quote, survivor-sided. And then you go back to the survivors and they're like, well, what about all these killer-sided patches? My question, my follow-up, my part B, if you will, to the last one is, how long have people been so lost in their tribalism that we talked about earlier that every patch, no matter how good it is for their side, if they see one positive thing, they think the game's going to die and all of a sudden their entire side is going to have a mass exodus?
That, again, that's been since the beginning. Like, it's one of those things where you'll see one really cool, like if you're a survivor main, and this, I say people should be playing both sides, and this will happen a lot less. But if you're a survivor player that plays, like I'd say 90% survivor, you know, queues up for that bi-monthly Huntress game against low MMR kids.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you're one of those people, then I would consider you someone who basically only plays survivor.
Right.
You're going to look at the patch notes. You're going to see that Killer's got this really cool thing, and then you're going to ignore the really cool thing Survivor just got. Or you're going to see that this one thing on Survivor was nerfed, and you're going to ignore that, oh yeah, like half the Killer slowdowns were nerfed. You know, like it's like there's like a cloud of ignorance, and that sounds almost offensive, but there's a cloud of ignorance when you see, like, it's like a spiteful ignorance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And that's the main thing. And I think what's cool to like kind of wrap up our time here tonight, and just kind of why I wanted to do this. Just to make it clear to everybody, we've had this on the table for a while. It's just Pally and I are both ADHD as fuck. And like 4 different times we would, like, the next day would come and we would be like, hey, weren't we supposed to do something last night? But the reason I wanted to bring this in, and also like the reason I've been enjoying your channel so much as of late, because you've been doing great on the videos. Absolutely bangers have been coming out lately, man. Just a fantastic job.
I try.
Is that there's always going to be how does the old verbiage goes? The river sometimes changes, but the water stays the same, something like that. And basically what it means is that as long as time goes on, as new people flow into the game, there's going to be like a repeat, right? There's always going to be people who fall into the tribalism, always going to be people who fall into the trap of thinking this killer is strong when they're actually not, always going to be the same stuff. And I think it's just like great to have someone like your perspective who's been playing since the beta. So I just wanted to thank you for coming on and sharing that perspective. And trust me, give me a couple of days. I could probably come up with 100 more things to ask. But unfortunately, we don't have that kind of time. But I just wanted to thank you. And are there any last words that you wanted to say to everybody, like here and on the YouTube and stuff like that? Yeah.
Don't judge people immediately, like just for how they behave in the game. You know, I used to be, I'm not going to lie to you. You could probably talk to some people. Like, I've never done anything like some of the people you'd see in a Spook and Jukes, but never.
Yeah.
But I've had some meltdowns. I've had some crash outs. There was a point, like right around the time Unknown released, where I was so frustrated, not at the game, but I took that frustration to my stream when it was going, and I think I was in tears by the end of the night. Don't judge people based on how they are in DBD. Like, you never know what people are going through. I'll say it outright, man. Like a few years ago, probably up until about 2020, you could have looked at me and been like, that guy's an asshole, and everyone probably would have agreed. But like, I have tried to evolve, and I think I've done a good. I've a lot of people have noticed I've tried to evolve, and I think that's all the community needs, is to evolve past the point of just being angry and tribalistic at everything. I used to be that hardcore killer guy who'd be like, man, screw survivors, they don't deserve funds. Sometimes I say that, sometimes but like I never mean it, but like, I used to be that guy, and don't judge people if they're that guy or that person now, because they just need to learn. They need to get through that.
And I'll tell you, you know, I don't know if this is going to make you feel better or what, but when I first met you, quote unquote met you, like saw your comments on like my videos and stuff, I didn't like you either, because of that like very killer main mentality that you had at one point. I used to get so aggravated. And then like,
also the way I say things too, and I acknowledge this, the way I say things, I come across very like superiority. Like, I don't mean to, it's just the way I word things, just it's how the words flow in my head. It's not how I mean it, but like, I come across as very, let me tell you why you're wrong. Which is why you could probably call me an asshole, and I'd probably be like, you know what, that's fair. I probably sound like an asshole. Well, I don't try to be.
Yeah, and like, that's the relation that I like saw. Like, the more that I like watched your content and gave you those chances, you remind me of me, or I guess I remind you of you because you're older than I am. But we're the very similar ways where we say stuff in a very direct manner, and that comes across wrong. But like, I also, and she knows this, I talked to her about it when I did the interview with her. I didn't like Lily Pie at first either, because she had very like heavy survivor-sided takes. And so I was just like, what the fuck is she talking about? Now she's like the sweetest person I've ever known. But yeah, I've seen you grow in that regard, so I don't know how that makes you feel, but it's been quite an honor getting to know you, like this version of you. But that's
part of it too. Part of it too. I don't mean to like drag it on. Part of it too has been like the support system I've had from people. Like, I accidentally fell into the crowd of cool people like Levi, for example, and Bran. And Comfy Cheeks, like I mentioned, and Herman, you know Herman, Herman the Doctor. Like, I fell into that group of people, that and Vampire Toothy, I don't know if you know them, but like, just this great group of people who have been nothing but supportive, and like, they will DM me. Mostly Levi. Levi is a saint.
Oh yeah.
He'll DM me and he'll just make sure I'm good. He'll see that I had a crash out or something. He'll be like, "You good, man?" Like, stuff like. Without that kind of support system, I probably wouldn't have made it this far. So
I will say from the bottom of my heart, if anybody in this community deserves to be one of the big creators, it's Levi. If
absolutely
any one of us deserves to be like Otts, Hins, Aaron, JRM levels of creator, it's Levi. That dude deserves
Levi is on
everything.
My Mount Rushmore of creators that deserve so much more than they have.
Yeah, for sure. But that's all the time we have for tonight. If you want to join me in thanking our channel members, listed on screen now if you guys want to find out how to become a channel member today. Get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, personal coaching, and more, then please click that join button down below. I love you guys so much. I'm sure Pally does as well. And we'll see you in the next one.